Mate, you are the editor of SA Rugby magazine. I'm looking at your lead story for the test match that says, big guns back for competitive Wallabies. Come on. Who is this big gun that they're bringing back?
Nicholas White, mate. Nicholas White. Looks like a Spitfire pilot.
But
he's heavy caliber.
That pint-sized dwarf.
Yeah. Corabetti, Nicky White.
Don't speak of Corabetti like that, mate. No, I mean, Angus Bell return. You're calling him big.
He's 125 kgs.
Oh, okay.
That's as big as it gets in Australia, mate.
Mate, I looked at this team. I was a little bit petrified when I saw our team announced. I remember we had a calming session here. Yes. You felt good on the couch after an hour and you felt confident. Yeah. And Perth, it hasn't always been kind to us. We've lost 4 times there. We've won, 3 and drawn 2. Biggest winning margin, 7 points. And then I looked at this Australian team and we can't lose to these guys. Come on.
I don't think we can, mate. I mean, I've really, what did Leon Schuster say? A grap is a grap, maar jy maak nie 'n sombreel in 'n ander man se hol oop nie. Something to that effect.
Ja, Afrikaans is nie...
It's terrible.
Die Afrikaans is swak.
It's baie swak.
It's pover.
So, I thought, you can only take the piss so much. You're going to burn your fingers. But if I look at this Wallabies team, as much as I want to say there's a chance, I just can't see it happening, mate. This is not a dinkum Wallabies team. And they've got a lot of work to do to catch up. And I think as much as I think it'll be messier than it needs to be because of the Boks changes, I think the Boks are good for the win.
Look, the Boks were down to 13 when the Wallabies scored their only try. It was 33-0, 75th minute. The Boks were down to 13, playing on 15. And they really had to work hard, the Wallabies, despite having a 2 numerical advantage to score in the corner. Do we have to get us down to 12 in Perth for them to have a chance?
There is a Kiwi ref, mate, Paulie Williams. He's in charge.
He's not a bad referee. I quite like that,
No, I do. No, I'm just teasing. No, it's going to take something massive. It's going to take a massive intervention, an asteroid, something. I don't see how the Wallabies are going to win this one. Like I said, I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But I can't see the Boks losing this, even with this overhauled team.
No, I think the big record score we saw last week is not going to be repeated. If that same team was playing, I would say yes, 25 plus points to the Boks. But it's not the same team. It's the Springbok Barbarians that are playing, and they're going to be disjointed. They've been together for a long time, practicing, but you've got to play the game. It's not a practice session. And those combinations, and it's one thing to say, but there's 5 of the Bulls players in the pack. Jan-Hendrik Wessels was playing hooker for most of the time with Grobbies as hooker, not playing loose head prop. So we spoke about it earlier in the week. That tight 5 will take some time to gel. And new halfback pairing as well. Individually good players, Morne van der Berg and Sasha. But, and even, look, Kanye Ahmed, even though he started his career at 12, out of position in many respects, with Jesse Creel at 13. So, I think we're going to be very disjointed. I think it's going to be ugly, messy, and in Perth, it's always a cark game.
It really is, mate.
It always seems to be uninspiring. It doesn't matter who plays.
It's got the worst of both worlds. It's got the Durban stickiness, but you're in Australia. I mean, it's the worst of the worst.
Western Australia. It's so far away from Sydney. It could be another country. I know that people who stay in kind of like Perth, I mean, they go to Asia to shop. It's easier to go there than it is to fly over and see what's going on in the lights of Sydney. But Perth, hometown for South Africa, I don't buy that either. I've been there often, and there's a sprinkling of South Africans that are still there. Many of them went there in the 70s, and by now they should be wearing gold, not green.
Exactly, mate.
So I also wanted to make a case for guys, prepare for the worst this weekend with the kind of squad we picked up against a wounded Wallaby. But this isn't a wounded Wallaby. This is the Wallaby at the moment. And what is a Wallaby? It's certainly no kangaroo, mate.
Not a full
little
one
Joey.
Anyway. Exactly. Little Joey, mate.
They're just not good enough.
They're not good enough. I think as much as we wanted it to be spicy, I just don't think they've got the cattle to muster that. So I'm expecting Big Brother to come on and fix the game in the second half.
This game reminds me of those old days where the Sharks, on their way home from like getting a win or two in New Zealand, have to stop off at Perth to play the Western Force, and they win 23-14, 23-15. They just want to bank the 4 points and get the hell out of there and get home.
That is correct.
I've got that kind of sense about this week.
Totally.
Despite all the narrative of like, this is an energized Bok team, this is a young Bok team, these guys are hungry for success. And I hope they prove me wrong. And they come out there and blow the Wallabies away. I don't see it happening. They'll win. They'll win comfortably. They won't ever be chasing the game. But I don't think it's going to be that kind of complete performance we saw in Brisbane, especially for that first hour. It's going to be more one where we look at individuals. What do they take out of the game? Who does well? Who kind of enhances their chance to be in the 23 for the 2 test matches against the All Blacks?
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think where Australia may be better this week is better organised in the kicking game with Nick White at the back there. I think they may look to try and minimise their exposure to transitions on attack by playing more of a sort of clever kicking game and then creating pressure through kick chase and defence. I think they may sort of hedge their bets on that side of the ball. But like I said, I don't think they really got the weapons to back it up. The Boks can get their way out of trouble there.
Well, they will be competitive because they won't get blown away like they were in Brisbane. This Boks side's not good enough to blow them away and be 21 points up after 20 minutes. Absolute dominance. So it will be more of a rugby contest. And you'll see Australia play a lot more of their ball in hand phase play, coast to coast.
Yeah. Well, I think like Alan Alatoa is the Wallabies captain. He's coming up against Jan-Hendrik Wessels at loosehead and taking on Grobbies. Like, I mean, for him, he's got to step up in that situation. Otherwise, he's kind of in a bit of a cul-de-sac. I mean, if he can't take those two guys on, relative newbies to the test arena against a guy who's quite sort of touted in world rugby, I feel like that's something that it's a matchup that he'll think he can win.
Could he be spooked by the size of that guy's neck?
Mate, I don't know where he's going to put his head because...
Where they'd staff his neck.
The size, I mean, that guy's got more space between his eyes, and I think my head could fit in there. He's got a massive head. He's huge. He's a ginormous man. I don't know, where's the tight you're going to put his head?
Do you rate Alatoa?
I think, sort of by Wallaby standards, he's definitely the best they've got, him and Taniela Tupou, so...
Is he the best in the family?
Mate, probably not, no.
Eh?
Probably not.
For those who don't know,
Mikey.
There's another one who plays for Samoa. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, if he comes through this test, is it like he's played against a very good tight end?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the opportunity for the Boks in this game, right? It's if things go wrong, people are going to say, oh, you made so many changes, no cohesion, etc., etc. But if these guys somehow pull it together and Grobbies and Jan-Hendrik Wessels double team Alan Alatoa, the scrum goes forward, we win another 4 scrum penalties, and we control the field, that's going to be very impressive for 2 guys that are new to the scene. So massive opportunity for all these guys.
Okay, so there's something for them to play
Big
for
time.
there. Something for us to take out of this game outside of a win is seeing them come through. Thomas the Tank, we just want him to have a proper game for the Boks.
I just want him to look...
less petrified.
Yeah, but also not docile. Maybe with Nick White being on the field, we'll get the best of him. I don't know. I would just like to see Thomas du Toit play angry.
And Samuel Murat get a bit angry as well.
As well. Exactly the same thing. I just want to see these guys get a bit hot under the collar and sort of insert themselves into the game. Be assertive.
Collectively as a pack, where can we improve in terms of what we saw from, I think, a more superior pack in Brisbane from the Boks? But this pack, what areas would they be looking at?
Yeah, so I suppose you want to replicate what that... First of all, obviously, set-piece accuracy. You want your line out and your scrum to function properly, so that'll be the first thing. But second of all, like, we spoke about Ulrich Lowe on Tuesday, and remember when he first came on the scene for the Bulls? Like, he was just dominant, running over people, just explosive. And that's what I meant in our conversation earlier in the week, is I want to see Ulrich get back to being that guy. So this is a second chance to run at these guys. Although it isn't with the number ones in the starting 8, I would like to see Ulrich get back to being the guy that first exploded onto the scene. I think he's got a bit of the sophomore blues, his second, third season vibes, where it's like, okay, where am I now? Have guys worked me out? So I'd like to see him hunker down and just destroy some people with the ball in hand.
Everyone was raving about his performance in Brisbane.
It was good.
Was it good or was it very good?
No, it was good. He had a high work rate, and his work at the breakdown was good. It was a solid effort. It just wasn't that sort of imperious. If I said to you, we're going to dominate the worst Wallabies team in history, and Ulrich Lowe's at 8, you're going to be like, he's going to score a hat-trick. He's just going to run over people the whole day. And we didn't really see that part of it. He attempted it, but he didn't pull it off. So I'd like to see more of that this week. And I think for him, with Jasper coming back, that's definitely something that'll be on his priority list.
And then Marco van Staden against Carlo Tizzano.
Tizzano, mate.
I mean, they've picked him primarily over the ball, slow the ball down. I think he won 1 turnover in Brisbane, but they rate him very highly in Oz. This is a good opportunity for van Staden as well. I mean, he's always playing second fiddle to Sia in terms of that back row mix. To go out there, get a start, and do some damage. And what I always like is we've got Kwagga coming off the bench. I mean, that guy is... To me, he's the best impact player, loose forward impact player coming off the bench. He gives any team he plays for so much value.
Yeah.
So the battles within the battles will make this quite an intriguing test match. And obviously, a South African win will make it an enjoyable test match, because anytime South Africa wins and anytime South Africa beats Australia, it's always just it's a wonderful thing. Every time an Australian team loses, it's a nice thing. Doesn't matter what sport.
Yeah, anytime. You know what's going to be nice to see is Urban coming off the bench and potentially having to clean things up and having to lead. You know, I'm quite looking forward to that as well. The veteran coming on, the guy's about to overtake Victor Matfield's most capped Bok in history. And for him to come on with things a bit messy, few fires to put out, and the team looking for some direction, and to see how he responds to that, I think is also going to be definitely a little subplot to watch.
And Morne van der Berg, they rate him highly. What do you want to see in his game?
Well, I suppose, you know, when things get messy, it's the hardest on the scrum off, because he's the guy who's got to try and create some order out of chaos. So there'll be a bit of pressure on him there to sort of stay in the structures, not get flustered, not, you know, kick under pressure, all that sort of stuff. Keep the team organized. But I think he'll be fine with that sort of stuff. I think that the momentum that the Bok pack was going to generate, I think he'll be A-OK, and I'd like to see him have a few goes around the fringes and see how they cope with it.
And him and Nick White, it's going to be a lacquer little match up there.
Mate.
The old veteran's going to try and taunt the youngster.
I'm not sure whether Morne's got the mouth. It may be a bit like Stylebender versus Drickus in that department.
I don't think Morne has to be talking to him. I think he's just got to show him.
Point at the scoreboard.
King pair of heels, and I mean he's hell of a good round.
And he's rapid.
Yeah, with those short breaks and kind of the tempo that he plays at and the pace that he plays at. The areas that Rassie spoke about post Brisbane, so regardless of team makeup, was a lack of discipline at times, a lack of discipline for the ball, for keeping the ball, and then. He also just spoke about the need to clean up the line-out, get more consistency. A Bok team should never lose a line-out. Well, when you've got 7-foot giants there.
Totally, and you've got 5 of them.
Yeah, and you've got guys who are strong enough to lift them as high as they want to go.
Yeah.
So they lost 2 line-outs. They lost a bit of shape in the last 15 minutes. They got a few guys sent off. Some of those sending offs were debatable. But I also put that in the context of when you're 33-0 up, to sustain there for 65, 70 minutes is quite hard.
Totally.
And that was quite impressive for a South African team, because we've seen many a South African URC Super Rugby team get to 30, 40 points, make a few changes, allowing 2 soft tries. But no, they've got the game won. There's a hunger to this team to actually do well, to finish well. Michael Hooper was talking about, I saw in an interview earlier this week, what he was amazed at was that when they scored to go 33-5 up, how these guys were running back to the halfway line, ready to get started. And he's like, back-to-back world champions. You're 33-0 up, and you're scrambling on defense. You're running back for the restart. There's an energy that is undeniable, and it's making them a very popular team in world rugby at the moment.
But I mean, that's common to all sports, right? When you win, you're everybody's favorite team. And I think the success of the Boks, and certainly their consistency in winning back-to-back World Cups and then coming out firing like they have this season, certainly helps. So yeah, I can see why they're popular. And at the same time, we mustn't be blinkered about the Boks are doing great, but the rest of the world are not doing great. So it's not like we're beating teams that are in their prime. This is not the greatest Wallabies team, and we won't face the greatest All Blacks. So you can only play what's in front of you. I'm just saying the Boks are in imperious form, and the rest of the world's got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, and the team that would be probably top of the table, France, Ireland, and England coming back to the 4, and you look at the margins there when the Boks have played them, they've been minimal. They've been a point, 2 points, 3 points. So when you look at this wonderful success story, that is the Springboks, and no one's disputing that. Back-to-back World Cup winners. But they're not going out and smashing Ireland by 20 points. They're not smashing England by 20 points, taking France out by 15 points. When you look at the McCaw All Blacks 2011 to 2015, they were taking out a lot of fairly decent teams by big scores. So that's something for this team still to work towards. You know, it's like, what's next for them? It's to improve the quality of their performance and also their kind of dominance.
Yeah, so for me, like, I'm more interested in the succession, because all of those great teams, like we look at that 2007 team that Jake built, and which went on to win the 2009 Tri-Nations and all that sort of stuff, dominate, beat the Lions. That was it was a fantastic team, a sweet story with a bit of a sour ending, because those players kind of got to a stage where they controlled the team and they picked themselves and nobody else could come through. And then we had this sort of slump. And I think what Rassie is getting right by rolling the dice and taking a few chances on players is South Africa is being positioned to make a run at a third successive World Cup title, and also transition from one generation of players to the next gen players. And so I don't really care about the Boks beating Ireland by 20. I don't need them to score 10 tries to beat France. 1 point for a win is plenty for me. I'm happy with the success rate. I'll take the wins. I don't need the flash. I am excited about the Boks sustaining this and becoming the first team ever to win 3 World Cups in a row. That takes something that nobody's done before, right? Being able to win with a special group of players, you have to be a good coach. But being able to move on from those guys and keep the success rate, that's something that is unprecedented.
So you're looking for, when we look at that side that runs out in the World Cup final in 2027, and it's like, hey, there's 11 new guys out of a 23 that weren't in the last World Cup. But because they've been integrated so naturally over a 3 to 4 year period, you don't even realize that they're there.
Totally.
An example being, depending on how Pollard's body holds up and his legs hold up over the next 3 years, it's like you're not jarred by the fact that Pollard's not in the 23, Sasha is and someone else is. It's because they've been around.
Yeah. But also, like, we're not going there like wheeling Johnny Sexton to the final because he's all we've got. It's like we hope Andre Pollard's there and he's at his best and he does what he did at the last World Cup, but we're planning around the possibility that he won't be. And we're not just planning around it on paper, we're doing it on grass. This kid's playing. And we're going to see what he can do, and Andre needs to keep up with that and defend his jersey from that guy on the route to the World Cup. Like, that's the way to do it.
There's a wonderful thing, you talk about defend his jersey, is there's a leadership thing that I follow. It's the Crusaders leadership, and it's all their greats, the coaches, the Wayne Smiths, the Robbie Deans, the great players, Sam Whitelock being one of them. When they talk about what they learned in leadership roles, they talk about team ethos, culture, and talk about Corey Flynn, who's with the All Blacks at the moment, is a line-out specialist. He's got a lot of hard work to do, by the way. And he was one of those guys that Sam Whitelock said he would say to the youngster that came in, I'm going to give you all my experience. I'm going to give you all the help I can to make you a better player. But I'm not giving you my jersey. You got to take it from me. Bingo. And you get that sense that that's the culture within the Boks setup at the moment. Andre Pollard will mentor Satchel, but he's not giving up the jersey.
100%.
Eben will mentor Samuel Murat, but he's not giving up the jersey. It's like, you've got to actually be better than me at the end.
Spot on.
So when it comes to 2027, Rassie says, this is the starting 15 or the match 23. In a final, it's because you have leapfrogged that guy over a period of time. And that's the formula when you look at all the great teams in the world. It's... if you look at a Kevin Mialamu and how he got leapfrogged, but he hung in there to mentor and all that, it wasn't a case of we rotating and we're doing that. Then that's the best cab off the rank.
Yeah, totally.
And I get a sense, and again, Sasha's been primary to that because he's been given the most opportunity and he's come through. But this is the year for that with Rassie, that he's saying if it's going to happen, it's got to happen in this first year. Jan Hendrik, if you're going to come through, you've got to come through now.
Yeah, this is your shot.
Because if you're not through by the end of this season, are you going to be ready by the World Cup? And then to that veteran, all right, you got someone that's snapping at your heels, or we now need to manage that guy's body to get in there because we don't have the cattle that we thought we had. The depth of the Boks, is it as good as we think it is? When you look at this 23 that's playing on Saturday, Rassie's spoken them up as he has to as a coach. He said they would give that side from Brisbane a hell of a go. He said the same thing with the team that played Portugal. He said he could have played against Ireland as well. I kind of know that's a coach talking his boys up, because I think Ireland would have done them quite comfortably.
Totally.
We look, and are we biased? Obviously we're biased and we love South Africa, but is it like for like? Is 1 and 1 the same? Is 15 and 15 the same? Or is there for you a noticeable gap?
No, mate. No. There's clear pecking order. Frans Malherbe is on the shortlist for best tight end in the world. And Vincent Koch is a step down, and Thomas du Toit is a step down. And that may be based on the fact that the one guy starts more than the rest of them. But the reality is he got that job, he won that job, and he kept that job because he's better. So do we have a better backup tight end than anybody else in the world? Arguably, yes. And do we have a better backup tight end than anybody else in the world? Probably. So I think that's the key with South Africa, is that the step down from the starters to the second string to the third string is probably a lot shorter than the rest of the world. But there is a clear step down. I mean, that's a reality. And it doesn't mean that those players can never get to that level. You know, like we're saying, Sasha might be a guy who overtakes Andre eventually. But we're saying if you had to go to last year's World Cup final, you had to choose between one of those two kids. You had to choose between one of those two players. You'd take Andre every time based on the fact that he is the guy who's proven himself. There is a pecking order.
Well, I mean, second row as well. I mean, Samuel Murat, wonderful schoolboy player, Storm as captain, he's coming through the ranks. Ruan Okier's done well with the Bulls. But right now, Eben, Peter Steff, Argier, Lut, you'd put them in another bracket, wouldn't you?
Totally. Well, I mean, Lut we haven't seen for a while, but absolutely. And I think our lock stocks, we could stock teams all over the world with what we've got. I mean, the depth that we've got is peerless. So our forwards factory, no problem. And I think the question that you're asking there about our depth is one that Rassie is trying to answer in this rugby championship. That's the reason he's made these 10 changes, to get answers to how much of a step down is there across the depth chart. Let's give these guys a run and see how they respond.
Is it kind of just the way of the world at the moment in professional rugby? I mean, I saw Jake in an interview said the other day, it's not even about having 35 players in a squad anymore. It's about having 45 players because of the physical demands when you're looking at playing 14 test matches in a season. And he was talking about the Wallabies. Forget 23 or 33. He says they don't have 45 players. France took a squad to Argentina. They didn't take one of their 30 World Cup players. And they won the first test match.
Yeah.
And ran the Pumas very close in the second. Does it need that radical mind shift to say, and making 10 changes is probably as radical as we'll get for the box, to say, well, let's see what these young guns have got, and if it doesn't go right, there's more gains out of it than there is a once-off loss.
Yeah, I suppose the commodity there is the number of tests you have between now and the next World Cup. And that's one thing we know for sure Rassie will have done, is he's plotted every minute between now and Australia 2027. So he knows exactly what he's working with. The resource that's the commodity there is how many tests you have. If you go on the basis of, I'm going to try two guys whenever we get this sort of, I don't want to say easy test, but whenever that sort of opportunity presents itself, it could take you 2 to 3 years to get answers on all of the guys. So one way to sort of rip the Band-Aid off is to make 10 changes against the worst Wallabies team ever, when you could argue you've got a lead in the rugby championship that most times you wouldn't have over the All Blacks, and potentially you can recover because you're playing them at home. That may be the thinking behind it. So, again, I don't know whether it's 100% fair, and I say that very loosely because what's fair, but I don't know if it's fair to the guys that are being thrown in the deep end in the sense that they don't always have the experience around them that they would prefer.
Okay, if you look at the box setup at the moment, and we keep on saying right now and then going through to 2027. 10 is sorted now. Fitness permitting and all that. You've got Pollard, you've got Sash, you've got Marnie in the loop, you've got 3 good fly-offs. Our midfield sorted. Deolandi, Jesse Creel, maybe a gap for someone else to come through in the Currie Cup or in the URC. Our winners are sorted. We know our winners are. It's Kurt Lee, it's Cheslin, Mapimpi, maybe a push to get him to the next World Cup. There's some hell of a good young winners that are playing. Edward van der Merwe did well when he played. Fullback, Damien Willemse will come in for Willie. Fassi, you want him to potentially come through. Horny's there. He's been in the mix already. So it's kind of taken shape already. You've got to be very good over the next 2 years to break into that squad from outside.
Yes. I think, again, it depends on how these questions are answered. Like in this test match, if Corby's shoots the lights out, that ticks a massive box about what happens if Malcolm or Bongi break down for a long period. You're like, phew, okay, that's taken care of. Grobbies is the guy who's going to step in there. If he's iffy and he doesn't really answer that question, then you're back in that sort of place of vulnerability where, yes, you've got the two best hookers in the world. An abundance of talent there, we're very blessed. But if there is a cataclysmic injury there, what is the answer? So hooker's definitely a position like that. Fullback in a way is a position like that because it's a long way to 2027 for Willie. And then outside centre as well. Muscletek's playing great rugby and Lucanio Ames class, but both of those oaks are getting on in years. To expect both of them to nail down 13 all the way to the next World Cup without really anybody that's established there. I mean, are we looking at Kane and Moody as a potential guy there? You know, what is the answer there? Are we waiting for Van Wyk or how's that going to work? So I think there are a couple of positions across the board, but again, that is like first world problems, right? Because we've got answers at 1 and 2. Now we're talking about, what's going to happen if one of those guys break down? Other countries don't even have a 1. So we're in a great position.
Would you say that from what you've seen, the 45 players that Rassie's used post the World Cup, that 90% of the 2027 World Cup will come out of that squad? That there's probably a 10% that's going to be playing for the next 3 years to break into that squad?
I would say absolutely. And I mean, just on like basic logic, Rassie's number one strength is planning and planning ahead. And so he wouldn't have a squad full of guys that aren't going to go to the next World Cup. They wouldn't be playing right now. So you got to think that that's where his mind's at, and most of those guys go.
Okay, we've got over the disappointment of wanting to see the best team out there to smash them. We have confidence that this team can win. They're good enough to win. And the argument would be that they play against the best team at training every day in any case. They won't play a tougher test match than what they do when they pack down in a live scrum against the best pack in the world, which is their teammates. Over the ditch at Eden Park.
Eden Park, mate.
49 matches unbeaten in the All Blacks. They're up against the Pumas. Your countrymen.
Listen, gringos. The Argentina Los Pumas. We're playing the All Blacks this week again. We have hurt them. We have punched them in the face. But now, we must really put in the elbow. Make them suffer at their biggest home base. And we will do it without our inspirational hooker, Augustin Creevy. He had too much to drink, too much of the tequila, eh? But we will win without him. Support us. And remember, guys, these two guys are too embarrassed to say it. Please click the link and subscribe to this channel so you can always get these great rugby podcasts coming straight to you, okay? Okay.
Well done, Ricky, and well done to the Pumas. I mean, a fantastic win last week, and they've made 3 changes. The All Blacks have made a few changes. You know, the answer to the All Blacks, they're bringing back Sam Cane to sit on the bench. Most of New Zealand wanted him out a year ago.
32 and retiring.
Yeah, and he said he's out of here at the end of the year. No more Test rugby. He's going to Japan. We spoke earlier in the week about it, and you were emphatic. No ways can the Pumas win again at Eden Park. Are you still as emphatic a few days later when you've seen the two squads?
I went round to Ricky's house for tortillas, and he tried to convince me, but I'm still on board with the All Blacks winning this match. I think they have to win this match. It's really backs to the wall. If they can't beat Argentina at Eden Park and they're going to surrender that record, to go back-to-back losses at home to Argentina would put them in crisis mode.
Just the way we like it.
Just the way we like it,
to
mate.
South Africa.
Yeah,
to the Republic.
I think the All Blacks, look, they've muscled up in the back line, and I think that they will be more savvy in the kicking game, and I think that they will do the job.
All right, they've made quite a few changes to the backs. Will Jordan's there on the wing. Caleb Clark's back. He's on the wing. Bodie starts. Rico Ihoni's back at his home ground. Antonina Brown onto the bench. I still think they should have gone Bodie Barrett at 10, but we keep on saying that. They're going to give Damien McKenzie as much opportunity, basically, not to make it.
Keep digging, son.
Yeah, I just hope they don't stumble on the right combinations when they get here.
Yeah, that's
as
my
they've done
concern.
in the past.
Yeah.
And they play him in South Africa as well. But you look at that pack of theirs, it's just, again, their second row is vulnerable. Their bench forwards look very, very vulnerable. When I say average by international All Black standards, so no one's an average player who plays Test rugby. We want to make that very clear to people.
It's all about where they are in their career. I mean, those two locks may emerge as greats, but where they are right now is not great.
So despite all of that, Scott Robinson, the breakdancing skills not quite there at the moment. It looks like that that Australian breakdancer now with the All Blacks. It's a wonderful
Ray gun.
wonderful meme that goes out, and it showed Scott Robinson doing the breakdance after winning Super Rugby, and then it showed that woman doing the breakdance at the Olympics, and it said that's Scott Robinson doing the breakdance for the All Blacks. That's how different the coaching careers are going.
Yeah.
I actually put that on X and got a lot of response. People loved it. They thought it was hilarious.
Yeah,
okay?
yes, mate.
I don't think Scott Robinson thought it was hilarious. But they should bounce back, eh?
No, they've got to bounce back. They've got to bounce back. It would be, I mean, when last did the All Blacks lose back-to-back tests? You would know.
I would know. At home, the last time they lost back-to-back tests was 1994 against the same team, was against France. And they lost it at Eden Park. They tried from the end of the earth. This is the romantic in me that just says, I hope that it was only Mr. Creevy who went out and drank all week.
No chance, mate.
Because
No
I just
chance.
want those Pumas to go out and actually back up that performance, because the last time they beat the All Blacks in Christchurch, they got smashed the next week in Hamilton, I think it was. When they beat them in Australia, they got smashed the week after that. So the average points differential was 39 in the 3 matches that preceded last weekend's win and then their previous win. I don't think this All Black side's capable of taking them out by 35, 40 points.
No.
I think it's going to be a lot closer and a lot more competitive. But interesting point here, when the All Blacks beat England 16-15 in the first test, the feeling was they'll take England out in the second at Eden Park. That was England's best chance. Despite having a healthy lead at one stage, they were hanging on in the last 2 minutes, defending their try line to get the win.
Game management has been an issue for these guys, and that's why they need Richie back.
Do you see it being a little bit more comfortable for them on Saturday in Auckland, or do you see a case of it could come down to one score?
No, I think the All Blacks will win it by 12 to 15 points. That's my guess.
Well, you're looking at my notes again.
Of course, mate.
All right, mate. Okay, give me a score.
I'm going to say the All Blacks are going to win this 31-19. It's the same score I gave the Springboks to win last week in Brisbane.
All right, I've got the All Blacks to win at 35-20. Now, the All Blacks historically in Super Rugby have always scored 30 points. They've conceded 19. The difference in Wellington was they scored their 30, but they conceded a record 38.
Yo.
It's the most any team has ever scored against the All Blacks in New Zealand.
When you kick badly, mate, bad things happen.
Exactly. So, back to Perth, where it's all happening. The Springboks, Barbarians 15 against the Wobblies. How's it going to play out?
Slow start, messy start, so a couple of moments of brilliance, and then things settle down in the second half, and the Boks bring it home to win by 9 points.
All right, now, if you're a betting man, who has the halftime lead?
Ooh,
That's a good one. eh?
oh, that's a good one, mate. Can I call a draw?
Could it be a draw? We've had
At halftime.
a draw at halftime, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. I'll say it's a draw at halftime.
A draw at halftime. Is there any possibility of this match ending in a draw?
Of course there is. I mean, we've drawn twice in Perth, but the probability is very low, given the makeup of that Wallaby team, I think. What do you think?
Because these teams have done some weird things in the past. I mean, a couple of years back, I think 2017, they drew in Perth, and then they drew in Bloemfontein. So where was the home ground advantage there?
Exactly,
Maybe Bloemfontein's an Australian home ground advantage. But I don't think this Bok team is vulnerable enough to lose or draw. I think they are still too strong individually, and I give it to the Boks quite comfortably because of what's coming off the bench. So it's a different type of bomb squad because it's actually your regular starting players. And I think the Boks are actually going to win quite comfortably.
Before you tell me that, do you think...
And I didn't think that 2 minutes ago.
Don't ask him again into. Do you think that more of the replacements come on in the first half than the second half for South Africa?
No, I think he's going to leave it to 45, 50 minutes. He's going to give these guys a chance because if you sending them on in 35 minutes, your point is, why did you start them? And this Australian side is not good enough to be 21-3 up after 25 minutes.
Mike, what have you done?
But the Bokkers
What have you done?
3 intercept passes.
Nicky
no.
White's giggling.
Yeah, so look, I think the Boks are going to win well, and I think they will score 30 points, and they will concede 15. And they will win
that's
30
nice.
points to 15.
Ooh, that is nice.
And it will be close for the first 50 minutes. So the Bokke, I normally say Boks by 10, Boks by 15 this weekend. Not as convincing as they were in Brisbane, but it's a different team. But all faith in these guys. I've now got everything, all the emotion is out there during the week. I've settled. I've been on the couch, calmed myself, and fired up Mr. Positivity over there. And Boks to win, 30-15. And then we're going to have a jaw in Arniston while we watch it.
Yes.
So if you're in the Arniston area, you pull in and have a dop with us. There's going to be lots of Jägermeister. Ryan O'Connor's going to be there. Monty's going to be there. Dobber's going to pop in. Obviously, the big guy here, Zels, is going to be there. And you may even meet Ricky, okay? Imad will be there, the guy who makes it all happen. You'll meet him. And it's just going to be a lot of fun while we watch the Boks win. And then Sunday morning, we're all going to get up and just watch Drickers take the style bender out, okay? So... in the most amazing bit of paradise on this earth in Arniston.
You don't want to make a prediction on that one, do you?
I do know Drickers will win.
Is it going to go the full distance? Or
Mate, I don't care.
Okay.
I just know there's going to be a South African flag hoisted high on Sunday. The real African will win.
I'm going to go with Drickers to win this thing in the first round, mate.
Oh, mate, how much do you know about
A lot!
Oh.
What are the odds on that?
Hey?
That
If,
may be
if
worth
he
a
goes
tickle.
down in the first round, it's because Drickers has had a brandy and coke before and he made burp
No,
on it.
mate, it's because Evan climbed the fence and knocked him out.
Lovely that Sia and Evan are going to be walking him into the
Yeah.
ring. What Stylebender doesn't know is they're staying in the ring. 3 of us.
Oh, glorious.
But give me your score. I've got 30-15. What have you got?
I'm going to say the Boks are going to score 23 points, and that means that the Wallabies are going to score 14.
23-14, so that makes it a 9-point differential. 23-14, 31-19 for the All Blacks. I've got 35-20 there, and I've got 30-15. It's going to be a great Saturday of rugby championship. Bokke!
Let's go!
All green, no gold.
Yes, that's nice.